Namo. Thanks so much for joining me for our daily practice check-in. Listen, listen, listen. This wonderful sound calls us back to our true home. The fifth mindfulness training. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful consumption, I vow to cultivate good health, both physical and mental, for myself, my family, and my society by practicing mindful eating, drinking, and consuming. I will ingest only items that preserve peace, well-being, and joy in my body, in my consciousness, and in the collective body and consciousness of my family and society. I'm determined not to use alcohol or any other items that contain toxins, such as certain TV programs, magazines, books, films, and conversations. I am aware that to damage my body or my consciousness with these poisons is to betray my ancestors, my parents, my society, and future generations. I will work to transform violence, fear, anger, and confusion in myself and in society by practicing a diet for myself and for society. I understand that a proper diet is crucial for self-transformation and the transformation of society. For our Dharma lessons, we've been reading More Than Mindfulness, Widening the Field of Practice by the Monastics of Abhayagiri Monastery. Today we're beginning a new talk by Ajahn Viradhammo called Mindfulness, Vitality, and Inquiry. I would like to reflect on the 7 factors of enlightenment. The teachings of the Buddha are vast. The Buddha taught for 45 years and he gathered a lot of disciples. There's a vast body of knowledge that has been passed down to us, and it is very rich. The Buddha seems to have taught very much from time and place. He pitched his teachings to the audience or person that he was talking to. He didn't sit down and write it all out. It was very much time and place. It was focused on the person, where the person was at, what was going to serve their needs. Maybe it would be silence. Maybe it would be a challenging question. Maybe it would be a discourse. He taught in many different situations. Whatever teaching we take, it is always good to bear in mind that it is in the context of a much larger body of teachings. I tend to focus on the training of the mind. Sometimes I don't talk enough about morality, precepts, ethics, and things like that. I live a very disciplined lifestyle, and sometimes I'm not terribly interested in that aspect. And yet it is terribly important, isn't it? To live a good life, to live an ethical life, to practice goodness, to practice altruism, and to be sensitive to each other. There are so many things which are very fundamental to an authentic spiritual life. Sometimes the teachings around the mind can sound selfish if they are taken out of that context. I'm just going to work on myself and not take care of my family and my society. There's a huge emphasis in Buddhism on good old-time religion, being grateful, being content, being frugal, being moral, being responsible and not killing, not hurting, and so on. All religious teachings have that. Sometimes when they are taught, one can think, I have to be grateful, I have to be content. It becomes an egotistical imperative. I must be this, and I must be that. One can feel guilty for not being grateful. But if you contemplate gratitude, what does that do for you? And then contemplate whinging. What does that do for you? How does it feel? Isn't gratitude more aligned to the spiritual life than whinging? There is an appropriateness if one inclines towards gratitude rather than whinging. Sometimes one isn't grateful, and that can be all right too. The 7 factors of awakening are part of the teachings of the Theravadins. The Theravadins like lists, so the teaching can be very heavy on intellect. I know in my own evolution with this work, I needed to figure all that out first. Where does this all fit in? I did a lot of intellectual work first, as well as getting my act together when I was learning how to be a monk. There was a lot of confusion around the conceptual part of Buddhism. Now I find I'm not so interested in that. I would rather weave or simply observe a pine tree. I have that kind of basis within my consciousness, within my experience. How much intellectual structure one wants to take on depends on your personality. Some monks and nuns whom I know love analysis. Some aren't so interested. It depends to some extent on personality. In the text, the right-hand disciple of the Buddha was Venerable Sariputta. He was most profound in analysis next to the Buddha. He could analyze all kinds of mind states and other things in incredible detail. And yet there's another monk who finds all the rules and analysis very complicated. The Buddha says to him, just contemplate a white piece of cloth. Just contemplate purity. That was sufficient for him. So there is this vast difference in personality types. The 7 factors of enlightenment come within the lists of Buddhism. As long as you don't get hung up trying to figure them out exactly, lists can be very helpful because they give you reference points. They give you structure within which you can observe how your own consciousness works. The factors we work with in Venerable Thanissara's book, Wings to Awakening, are threefold: sati, Dhammavicaya, and viriya. Sati is awareness, mindfulness. Dhammavicaya is a capacity to investigate phenomena. And viriya is vitality. These 3 are what we are trying to train in, to employ and use all the time. I see them as one piece of a mind which is present. So mindfulness isn't control. Mindfulness is awakeness. It is knowing the way things are. It's not judgment. It's not being happy. It's not being kind. It's not being together. You can be falling apart and know that you are falling apart. You can be confused and you know this is feeling confused. You can feel bloody-minded and you know this is feeling bloody-minded. One can feel very loving and together, and one can know that. There is this ability we have as human beings to know the way things are. And this is very special. It's very profound. If we didn't have this capacity, we would just be stuck with the phenomena that come and go, such as the emotions, the bodily feelings, or the memories. We would be stuck on them. But there is this capacity to know. Not only can I feel pain in my back, but I can also know that feeling. I can know my reactions to that feeling. I can know the worry around that. We have this capacity to know. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be peaceful. Namo Adida Phat. Thanks so much for joining me today.